I went to Diddy's mansion party, and what I saw that night still makes my hands shake. The security took my phone. The NDA was 47 pages long. By midnight, I understood why. People were screaming from the basement. Famous faces were crying in corners. And Diddy? He was smiling like he owned their souls. Maybe he did. This is my story. Stay till the end. It started with a phone call on a Tuesday afternoon. My manager said Sean Diddy Combs wanted content creators at his Miami party. I thought it was my big break. Why would a billionaire music mogul invite someone like me? I should have asked that question sooner. But fame makes you stupid. It makes you ignore the red flags that are right in front of your face. The invitation came with a contract. Not just any contract. A non-disclosure agreement that was thicker than a college textbook. 47 pages of legal terms. Words like witnessed events and private rituals kept appearing. My lawyer friend read it and went pale. He said this was not normal, but I signed it anyway. What was I so afraid of losing that I ignored every warning? I landed in Miami on a Friday night. The driver waiting for me wore dark sunglasses even though the sun had set hours ago. He did not speak. Not one word during the entire 40-minute drive. He took back roads I had never seen before. Roads without streetlights. We passed the same palm tree 3 times. Was he driving in circles to confuse me about the location? The mansion appeared suddenly behind massive iron gates. Walls surrounded the property like a prison. Security guards with earpieces checked my ID 4 times. They took my phone and locked it in a metal box. They said it was for everyone's privacy. One guard whispered to another while looking at me. The other one nodded slowly. What were they saying about me that I was not supposed to hear? Inside, the mansion was nothing like I expected. Red and purple lights made everything look like a nightmare. The art on the walls showed twisted faces and strange symbols. Classical music played, but it sounded wrong, like the notes were backwards. The temperature was cold, despite it being summer in Miami. Rich people have weird taste, right? Or was there another reason for this disturbing atmosphere? I recognized some faces in the crowd. A sitcom actor from the 90s. An Instagram influencer with millions of followers. A music producer who worked with every major artist. But nobody looked happy. They looked nervous. Everyone was drinking heavily. A young actress grabbed my arm and whispered, "First time here? Whatever you do, do not go to the basement." Why would she warn a complete stranger like that? Then Diddy entered the room and everything changed. His security team moved like Secret Service agents. Everyone stopped talking. He wore all white and that massive ring on his right hand. He walked around shaking hands, but his eyes were cold. When he looked at me, he smiled. But that smile made my stomach drop. It was the smile of someone who knows something you do not. What did he see in me? The party started normal enough. Champagne glasses everywhere, loud music, people dancing. But I noticed the staff members all wore identical black masks covering their entire faces. Only their eyes showed through. They moved silently between guests. One of them stared at me for a full minute without blinking. Why did they need to hide their identities? What did they know that we did not? A jazz band played in the corner, but their song lyrics were disturbing. The singer kept repeating words about paying debts and eternal contracts, and the sacrifices we make for fame. Other guests nodded along like this was normal. Like these were not the creepiest words ever sung at a party. One producer even had tears running down his face while he listened. What sacrifices had these people already made to be here? Subscribe now, because what happens next is when I realized this was not a party. This was something much darker. Diddy walked to the center of the room and announced that select guests would experience the real VIP treatment. He pointed at 12 people, including me. Everyone chosen looked excited and terrified at the same time. Two emotions that should never exist together. What was waiting for us in that VIP area? We followed Diddy down a long hallway. The temperature dropped with every step. My breath became visible in the air. Portraits lined the walls, showing Diddy with various celebrities. Biggie Smalls, Tupac, Michael Jackson, Prince, Kim Porter, all dead. In every single photo, Diddy wore that same ring on his right hand. The ring seemed to glow in the dim light. Was I imagining things, or was there a pattern here? We entered a room covered in red velvet. Ancient symbols were carved deep into wooden panels. A massive round table sat in the center with 13 chairs arranged around it. But Diddy had only chosen 12 guests. Who was the 13th chair for? One influencer asked this question out loud. Diddy just smiled and said, "That chair is for whoever earns it tonight." What did he mean by earn? Hidden cameras lined the ceiling. Diddy pointed them out deliberately. He said everything we were about to see was being recorded for insurance purposes. Insurance against what? He explained that this was how real deals got made in entertainment. Not in boardrooms or studios. Here, in this room. Through rituals that most people would never understand. What kind of rituals required cameras and legal insurance to perform? Masked assistants brought in a locked chest made of dark wood. It looked hundreds of years old. Diddy pulled out a key from inside his shirt. He unlocked the chest slowly while maintaining eye contact with each of us. Inside were contracts written in red ink. He called them soul contracts. He said they were metaphorical. But the way he said metaphorical made it clear he meant something else entirely. A famous music producer stood up voluntarily. He confessed that 10 years ago he signed one of these contracts. He said he lost his marriage, his health, his relationship with his children. But he gained 3 Grammy Awards and $50 million. He looked at us and said it was worth it. Worth it? His hands were shaking. His eyes were empty. What kind of success costs you everything you love? Diddy went around the table, asking each person the same question. What would you sacrifice for your dreams? One influencer said her privacy. Another said his integrity. A young actress said she already sacrificed her family relationships to move to Los Angeles. Diddy nodded at each answer like a teacher grading tests. Then he got to me. I froze. What was the right answer to a question like that? Before I could respond, one guest stood up and said he wanted to leave. He said this was too weird, too cult-like. He walked toward the door. 2 masked security guards blocked his path. Diddy nodded once. They grabbed the guest's arms and dragged him through a side door. We heard him scream. Then silence. Nobody at the table reacted. Why was everyone acting like this was normal? Diddy stood and said we were moving to the second chamber. We walked through another hallway into a room covered entirely in mirrors, floor to ceiling. Every surface reflected our faces back at us, but something was wrong with the reflections. I could see figures standing behind us in the mirrors, dark shapes. When I turned around, nothing was there. Was the house playing tricks, or was something else in that room with us? A projector screen descended from the ceiling. Diddy pressed a remote. Footage began playing. Clips of celebrities at previous parties, famous actors doing drugs, musicians in compromising positions, politicians with people they should not be with. Every clip was dated and time-stamped. Diddy said, "Everyone here is family now. Family protects each other's secrets." What did he plan to do with footage of us? This is where the story gets truly disturbing. I need you watching this to understand that what I am about to describe happened. This was real. I excused myself to find a bathroom. The masked staff pointed down another hallway, but I overheard 2 of them talking. They mentioned the basement ceremony happening at midnight, the same basement that actress warned me about. Should I have just left right then? Curiosity is a disease. It makes you do stupid things. I started looking for that basement instead of returning to the group. Most doors were locked. I tried 15 different handles before finding one that opened. Behind it was a staircase going down into complete darkness. Cold air rushed up from below. The smell was wrong, like old metal and something else I could not identify. Why was I walking toward danger? I used my watch light to see the steps. They were concrete and old. The walls were bare. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. Scratching sounds echoed from below, like something was clawing at the walls. Every logical part of my brain screamed to go back upstairs, but I kept descending. Each step took me further from safety and closer to whatever Diddy was hiding. What makes people ignore their own survival instincts like this? At the bottom, I found a room filled with filing cabinets, metal ones that looked military grade. I opened the nearest drawer. Inside were manila folders organized by year. Each folder had a celebrity name written on it. I recognized every single name. These were A-list stars. I opened one folder. Medical records. Psychiatric evaluations. Police reports that were never made public. All of it marked confidential. How did Diddy have access to this information? One file made my blood run cold. It contained photographs from the 90s and early 2000s. Celebrities at parties similar to this one. Each photo had handwritten notes in the margins. Words like dealt with and controlled and eliminated. Next to some photos were dates. I checked those dates later. They matched exactly with career collapses, mysterious deaths, and public breakdowns. Was Diddy documenting his own crimes or predicting the future? I need you to leave a comment right now telling me if you would have kept going or run away. Because what I found next changed everything I thought I knew about the entertainment industry. In the next room was recording equipment. Professional studio grade. Shelves of tapes labeled with celebrity names and dates. I grabbed one randomly, put on headphones, pressed play. Private phone conversations, confessions, threats being made. These were not recordings of parties. These were surveillance tapes. Diddy had been recording private conversations of celebrities for decades. Phone calls they thought were private, meetings in supposedly secure locations, bedroom conversations. Every single tape was leverage, blackmail material. I realized that Diddy did not just throw parties. He collected secrets. He built an empire on fear and control. How many careers had he destroyed with these tapes? Footsteps echoed down the staircase. I panicked and hid behind the equipment. 2 masked staff members entered. They did not see me. They talked about preparing the altar and selecting the final participant for midnight. One said that Diddy was getting impatient. The other laughed and said someone always volunteers eventually. They always do. Volunteers for what? What happened at midnight in this basement? I waited until they left, then tried the staircase door. It was locked from the outside. I was trapped. My heart pounded so hard, I thought they would hear it from upstairs. I searched the room desperately for another exit. There had to be another way out. Fire codes. Building regulations. Something. But this basement was built to keep people in. How many others had been trapped down here before me? Behind a tall bookshelf, I found a hidden door. It took all my strength to pull it open. Behind it was a narrow tunnel with stone walls. These stones looked ancient. Older than the mansion. Older than Miami itself. Symbols were carved into them. Not gang signs or graffiti. These were deliberate, purposeful. They looked like something from a history book about ancient civilizations. Where did this tunnel lead, and why did it exist? The tunnel opened into a circular chamber. Candles were arranged in patterns on the floor. An altar stood in the center, made of black stone. Dark stains covered the floor around it. Stains that looked exactly like dried blood. Lots of it. On the altar was a book. I opened it. Names were written inside. Some crossed out, some circled. My name was on the last page. How long had Diddy been planning to bring me here? You are curious. Diddy's voice came from behind me. I spun around. He stood in the tunnel entrance with 4 security guards. He was not angry. He looked pleased, like I had passed some kind of test. He said, "Curious people either join us or they become examples. There is no third option." His smile never reached his eyes. Those cold, calculating eyes that had seen this moment play out before. How many people had stood where I was standing? Diddy explained that the entertainment industry is built on control. Record labels control artists. Producers control actors. Managers control careers. But who controls them? He did. Through these parties, through compromising footage, through rituals that bound people to him forever. He offered me a choice. Join his inner circle with guaranteed success, or refuse and face consequences. Both options sounded like death to me. What would you choose in my position? I asked what the consequences were for refusing. He showed me his phone. News articles about content creators who mysteriously lost everything. Careers destroyed overnight. Some died in accidents. Some disappeared completely. Some went insane posting conspiracy theories until nobody believed them anymore. He said, "I make stars and I break them. This is not a threat. This is just how the business works." Was he telling the truth? I pretended to consider his offer. Told him I needed time to process everything. He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. He said most people need time to accept their new reality. He assigned one of his masked assistants to stay with me, to help me adjust to the family. The assistant grabbed my arm firmly. Their grip was cold even through the mask. Was escape even possible anymore? Back at the main party, I tried to act normal, but my mind was racing. That actress who warned me about the basement was gone. The guest who tried to leave earlier never came back. How many people entered this mansion and never left? My handler watched me constantly, never more than 5 feet away. Other guests avoided eye contact with me now. They knew I had seen something downstairs. They knew what came next. Midnight approached. The music changed to something slower, more rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Diddy stood on a platform and announced the ceremony was about to begin. Everyone moved toward the staircase leading down. My staircase. My handler pushed me forward. We were all going to the basement, the place I had just escaped from. Except this time, there would be no hiding. What was about to happen down there? I made a decision. I stumbled and fell into a server carrying champagne glasses. Glass shattered everywhere. People screamed. In the chaos, I pulled the fire alarm on the wall. Sirens blared. Red lights flashed. Sprinklers activated, soaking everyone. Security rushed toward the front entrance to control the situation. My handler lost me in the crowd. I ran toward the kitchen. Would this distraction buy me enough time? The kitchen was full of catering staff panicking about the fire alarm. I blended in with them, grabbed an apron from a hook, kept my head down. The head of security burst in shouting orders. He scanned faces looking for someone, looking for me. I hid behind a commercial refrigerator, holding my breath. He walked within inches of my hiding spot. Did he see me, or was I lucky this one time? The catering staff evacuated through a service exit. I followed them out. We walked quickly across the lawn toward trucks parked by the service gate. Security was checking the main entrance, but not the service area. Not yet. I climbed into the back of a catering van between boxes of dishes. The driver started the engine. We rolled toward the gate. Would the guards stop us, or were we invisible to them? The gate opened. We drove through. I stayed hidden until we were miles away on the highway. Only then did I breathe. Only then did I realize I was shaking uncontrollably. The driver never knew I was there. He dropped the van at a rental facility and left. I walked to a gas station and called a rideshare. But escaping the mansion was just the beginning. What was Diddy going to do now that I had run? I flew back home the next morning. First flight I could get. I checked into a hotel instead of my apartment. Used cash for everything. No credit cards. No digital trail. I tried to process what I had seen. Was any of it real? Did I imagine the worst parts? But then my phone started ringing. Unknown numbers. I never answered. They left no voicemails. Just called repeatedly. How did they get my number? 3 days later, articles appeared online about me. Hit pieces on gossip websites. Anonymous sources claiming I had stolen from previous clients. False allegations about drug use. Photos of me at the party that made me look intoxicated and unstable. My social media filled with bots leaving hateful comments. Sponsors dropped me. Brands blocked me. My career was being systematically destroyed. Was this what Diddy meant by consequences? Friends stopped returning my calls. My manager dropped me as a client. Even my family questioned if the allegations might be true. Diddy's machine was designed to isolate targets completely, make them seem crazy, destroy their credibility before they could tell their story. I understood now why nobody ever spoke about these parties publicly. Who would believe someone with a destroyed reputation? How do you fight an enemy who controls the entire narrative? I tried going to the police. I told them everything. The basement, the files, the recordings. They listened politely, then did nothing. One officer later told me off the record that cases involving people like Diddy never go anywhere. Too much power. Too many connections. Evidence disappears. Witnesses recant. I was nobody fighting against an empire built over 30 years. What chance did I have? Weeks passed. I became paranoid. Every car that drove past seemed to be watching me. Every stranger on the street could be one of his people. I moved hotels every few days. Used different names. Paid cash for everything. I was living like a fugitive, even though I had committed no crime. My crime was seeing too much, knowing too much, surviving when maybe I was not supposed to. How long could I live like this? Then the messages started. Text messages from blocked numbers. No words, just photos. Pictures of me walking to the grocery store, taken yesterday. Me at a coffee shop this morning. Me entering my current hotel. They were following me, documenting my every move, proving they could get to me any time they wanted. The message was clear. Stop talking or disappear. Which would I choose? I researched other people who had spoken out against powerful figures in entertainment. Most of their stories followed the same pattern. Initial allegations, media attention, then systematic destruction, financial ruin, legal threats. Some recanted their stories. Some vanished from public life entirely. Some died in mysterious circumstances, ruled as accidents or suicides. Was I looking at my own future written in these cautionary tales? One night I received a phone call from a blocked number. I answered expecting threats. Instead, a woman's voice spoke. She said she was at that party years ago. She saw what I saw. She tried to speak out. Her career ended within months. Her family stopped believing her. She wanted to warn me that fighting Diddy was impossible. He owned too many people. Had too much dirt on everyone. Survival meant silence. Should I listen to her? But silence felt like death. Pretending nothing happened meant living in fear forever. I started documenting everything I remembered. Writing down names, dates, details. Not to publish, but to preserve. If something happened to me, at least there would be a record. Someone might find it someday. Truth has a way of surfacing eventually, even if it takes years. Even if I was not around to see it. Was documenting enough, Or was I just delaying the inevitable? Leave a comment telling me if you think I should have stayed quiet, or if speaking out was worth the risk. Because the next message I got changed my entire approach to this nightmare. Someone sent me encrypted files. Dozens of documents, photos, video clips, evidence from inside Diddy's operation. Someone on the inside was leaking. Someone wanted this exposed as badly as I did. But was it a trap? The files were real. I verified them carefully. Financial records showing shell companies. Email chains discussing problem individuals who needed to be handled. Footage from parties showing illegal activities. Names of people in law enforcement and media who were compromised. This was everything needed to bring down the empire, but it was also enough to get me killed. What do you do when you have proof, but showing it means certain death? I copied the files to multiple secure locations. Cloud storage, physical drives, friends who knew nothing about the content. I set up dead man switches. If I disappeared, the files would automatically release. This was my insurance policy, my guarantee of survival, because the only thing protecting me now was the threat of exposure. If Diddy silenced me, everything would go public. Would this strategy actually work? I sent a message to one of Diddy's assistants through an encrypted channel. I explained that I had copies of everything, that multiple people had these files, that any attempt to silence me would trigger automatic release. I was not threatening to expose anything. I just wanted to be left alone, to disappear quietly and never speak about what I saw. Was I negotiating my survival or sealing my fate? Days of silence followed. Then a response came, not from an assistant, but from Diddy himself. He said he respected smart moves, that I had played the game better than most. He offered a deal. I stay silent forever. In exchange, I would be left alone. No more harassment, no more career destruction, no more threats. Just permanent silence in exchange for a known life. Could I trust a deal with someone who trafficked in manipulation? I asked for proof he would honor this agreement. He sent me bank transfer information. $3 million would be deposited if I signed a new NDA. This one was ironclad. Speaking about anything related to him or his parties would mean immediate financial ruin and legal action. He was buying my silence permanently. $3 million to forget everything. To pretend that night never happened. Most people would take this deal immediately. Why did it feel wrong? Money in exchange for truth. That is how powerful people stay powerful. They buy silence. They pay off witnesses. They settle cases before trial. $3 million is nothing to someone worth nearly $1 billion. But it is life-changing money for someone like me. I could pay off debts, start over somewhere new, build a different life. Except I would know the truth forever. I would carry those secrets until I died. Could I live with that? I thought about all the people I saw at that party. The actress who warned me, the guest who was dragged away screaming. The celebrities in those files marked dealt with. How many had taken deals like this? How many chose money over truth? How many were living comfortable lives built on buried secrets? Maybe that is just how the world works. Maybe truth is a luxury only poor people care about. Was I being naive? I also thought about Kim Porter, Diddy's ex-girlfriend who died mysteriously, about Biggie Smalls, about all the deaths connected to him over the years, all the careers destroyed, all the lives ruined. If I took this money and stayed silent, I became part of the machine. I became complicit. But if I refused, would I just become another name in those files? Another person who knew too much? What is the right choice when both options destroy you? I declined the money. I told him I would stay silent without payment, that I had no interest in speaking publicly. But I would not take his money, because money creates obligation, creates debt. I did not want to owe him anything. His response was simple. He said most people take the money. that I was either very smart or very stupid. Time would tell which. What did he mean by that? 3 months have passed since I escaped that mansion. I moved to a different state, changed my number, started using different names online. I live quietly now, work a normal job, but I check the dead man switches every week. I verify the files are still secure, still ready to release if needed. This is my life now, waiting, watching, wondering when the other shoe will drop. Will it ever drop? Sometimes I see news about Diddy, new business ventures, award show appearances, photos with celebrities at events. He looks powerful, untouchable. Nobody looking at those photos would guess what happens at his private parties. Nobody would believe the basement exists, the files, the surveillance, the control. That is his power, hiding in plain sight, acting like a legitimate businessman. How many others operate the same way? I also watch the careers of people who were at that party. Some have blown up since then. Hit shows, #1 albums, major endorsements. Others have disappeared from public life completely. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. I wonder which ones took deals, which ones refused, which ones are living in fear like me. Do they think about that night as much as I do? The justice system failed everyone Diddy hurt. The police ignored reports. Prosecutors declined to charge. Witnesses recanted testimony. Evidence disappeared. This is what systemic corruption looks like. Not one giant conspiracy. Just lots of small failures. Lots of people looking the other way. Lots of careers protected at the expense of victims. How did we let the entertainment industry become this corrupt? But maybe change is coming. Other allegations have surfaced recently. More people speaking about other powerful figures. The culture is shifting slowly, very slowly. Each person who speaks out makes it easier for the next person. Each exposed secret weakens the system of control. Maybe my silence now will turn to action later. Maybe this video is the first step. Or maybe I am just trying to justify my cowardice. Which is it? I want you to understand something important. This is not about Diddy specifically. He is just one person in a massive system. That system is built on blackmail and control, on compromising people and holding their secrets forever. Powerful people in entertainment, politics, business all use these same tactics. The parties might look different, the locations change, but the methods remain the same. Keep people afraid, keep people silent. How do we break a system this entrenched? Some of you watching this will think I am lying, making things up for views. I understand that skepticism. I would think the same thing. Without proof, this is just another conspiracy theory. Another person making wild allegations against a celebrity. But I know what I saw. I know those files exist. I know other people have the same story, but are too afraid to tell it. The truth does not need you to believe it to remain true. Others will say, I should release everything immediately. Expose it all. Let the public decide. But you have not received those threatening messages. You do not check your door locks 5 times before sleeping. You do not scan every room for cameras. You do not wonder if today is the day they decide silence is not enough. You do not live with that fear. So do not judge the choices people make to survive. What would you do? This is my truth, my experience, my nightmare that I carry every single day. Whether you believe it or not does not change what happened. It does not bring back the people who were hurt. It does not fix the broken system. But maybe it plants a seed of awareness. Maybe you will question things differently now. Look at celebrities with more critical eyes. Ask why certain stories never get told. Why certain people stay powerful despite allegations. Maybe that is enough. If you made it to the end of this video, subscribe to this channel. Share this story. Not because I need the views, but because truth spreads through repetition. The more people hear these stories, the harder they are to suppress. Diddy's power relies on silence, on isolated victims who think they are alone. Every person who hears this and believes it weakens that power just a little bit. Will you be part of breaking the silence or maintaining it?